I think there's this view of like someone that lives on a park bench drinking a VB long neck out of a paper bag, and I'm like, that guy or that woman, she's quietly suffering somewhere because she doesn't know what's going on. My daughter Alia, she's 12 and she's quite sharp on her words, and she's like, oh mum, you're so like extra. I've done 450 one-to-one sessions as a peer support worker in the last year and a half. That's an astronomical amount. I remember when I won that first Logie, which was just out of this world, but only like that week before, I just found out my partner had cancer. We fall down 8 times, we get up 9. You know, it's regenerative.
Jodi Gordon, welcome to the Stella podcast.
Thank you. Thanks
It's
for having
lovely
me.
to have you here. The last time you spoke to Stella was in 2024, and it was very much talking about starting a new job at that time at SANE Australia, where you've been working. For people that don't know, that's an organisation that provides digital and telehealth support for people with complex health issues and their families.
Yes.
And really moving away from acting. Of course, you first came to notice in Australia. You were only 20 when you were cast on Home and Away, and then on Neighbours, lots of other television appearances over the years. Does Jodi Gordon, the actor, feel like a lifetime ago?
Oh, I feel like there's always a little bit of an actress in me, and I see it in my daughter too. But in terms of, I think the thread that runs through all of it is my interest and obsession with human behaviour. So whether that's playing a character as an actor or understanding how our brains are working and why we do the things we do, a really great mentor has helped me see that thread that's been through all of my different parts of my career and how it actually all links up. And it's like, of course, I've gone from being an actor to a counsellor and working in mental health.
Do you get asked about that a bit when people recognise you?
Yeah, sometimes people do. Very, very rarely. It used to happen a lot more. And the interesting thing is at SANE, I'm anonymous in my role. So there's this beautiful kind of barrier of anonymity between me and anyone that I work with, which is really refreshing. It's been refreshing for me to develop like my skills and my professional, skills and things like that. But also to not have that point of distraction come into a session. And so I think that, when people have said to me, when are you coming back on Home and Away or Neighbours or, it's such a joy. I loved playing those 2 characters, and 9 years in Australian television collectively playing those 2 girls. It's like there's part of them in me that I get to carry still.
You would have really built those characters from the inside out and maybe inhabited them in a way which is presumably part of the reason that they stay with you, not just the longevity, the fact that you did play those roles for so long.
I just got goosebumps. Yeah, you're very right, because I think when I auditioned for Home and Away, I remember Chris Hemsworth was in the audition room, and I was just like, oh my gosh, what am I getting myself into here? And this character was, as I was auditioning, I'd never auditioned for anything in my life. They were like, just be you. And that's all I had. And it was enough to play Martha.
Isn't that fascinating? Because just be you sounds like it could be such unhelpful advice.
Yeah.
But that actually helped you.
Well, to act well is to not act. It's like, get your head around that kind of thing. But I found that if I can sit in the truth of the storyline of what I'm playing, or find the heart and the soul in, no matter what good days or bad days these characters are having, finding that heart in them makes them lovable even when they're doing the most chaotic things. And I was given storyline after storyline after storyline. I was like, find the heart, find the soul, Jodi.
Is there a moment that stands out as the most testing for that mantra?
Yes. So when I had a husband on Home and Away and he died, and then I met his cousin at the funeral and then hooked up with him. That
Respectful grieving period. Couple of days.
In the family. it was Martha and I had so many adventures together and so many different. And it's interesting as a young woman who's just been exposed to this whole new world, playing this character with all these complexities, and my internal world was spinning, and then I get to play out these characters and have such incredible experiences with such an amazing team.
I also was just so struck, Jodi, when you're talking about doing that audition. You're 20 years old. Home and Away's this iconic show, had been on for a long time. And then a little-known actor, Chris Hemsworth, just happens to be in the room. I mean, that was a pretty fast and furious induction into the world of showbiz right there.
It sure was. I remember the casting director grabbed me before I went in, and she rubbed my makeup off my face and she pulled my hair out and she shook it up like that. And she's like, okay, now you're ready. You're Martha now. She not roughed me up like that, but just stripped me back, because I think I went in trying to be this version. This is a funny life moment. Trying to be this version of what I thought they wanted me to be. And she's like, pull it back and then anchor yourself in your authenticity, and the role will be yours. And I remember getting goosebumps again. I walked out of that audition and I bawled my eyes out and I called my mum and I said, Mum, I reckon I've got that part. And she goes, oh, she was so excited, but she was also like, darling, like 500 people have gone for that role. So, she's trying to calm but there was a feeling where I think, like anything great professionally and personally, you have an energetic link to something that you're doing that you go, oh yeah, that's my direction, that's my path next. And I want that, and I'm right where I'm meant to be.
You turned 40 last year, so you have packed a lot into your life. So much happens in 30 minutes of a heightened soap opera that there's a lot of life. But you also have had a lot happen in that time. You must look back and think, I didn't realise how intense and how much was happening within such a short time frame. Is that true?
Absolutely. I must say I've been reflecting on those moments, because I remember when I won that first Logie, which was just out of this world, but only like that week before, I just found out my partner had cancer. And it's like reflecting on the juxtaposition of life and these highs and lows, and this little girl going, oh my gosh, I'm living my dreams and there's so much pain and there's a lot of like attention. And, I can reflect on that time, I think, now, because it's like over, 20 years ago, and go, oh, you did good, kiddo. You did all right. You did the best with what you had, and so imperfectly, and that's all right. And I think we have the gift of being able to give that, what's the opposite? The champion voice, not the inner critic. As you get older, you have the gift of giving that to yourself and going, yeah, you did okay. Yeah. It's nice.
It's a good lesson to learn, I think, for anyone to have that moment where you can have that grace and say you really did okay, because you really did, and you did more than okay.
That compassion, I think it can carry you through so many different things in life. So many of us, we have the whip out and we're like better, higher, more, achievement. And it's just sometimes nice to go, you did all right. Imperfectly, you did all right.
When I was talking a little bit about inhabiting the characters that you've played as an actor and them really staying with you because of everything that you've taken on, how, Jodi, does that play out in your role working with people through SANE? And how have you learnt to navigate being there for them and having that empathy that is clearly very natural to you, but not taking that on and carrying that, obviously to a point of vicarious trauma, but just even being able to keep yourself at a distance, I suppose, from their trauma and their grief and whatever they're working through.
I think someone very early on said to me, I did some research, this week, and I got I've done 450 one-to-one sessions as a peer support worker in the last year and a half. That's an astronomical amount. What someone told me prior to doing that is, if you're really good at your job, Jodi, you know how to hold the space and the boundaries to protect yourself, but to protect the person that you're talking with. And the way that you do that is you understand what risk, you understand what escalation, you understand those different elements of what's starting to take shape within a conversation, so I can keep two hands on the driving wheel. Because the times when I've let go of the driving wheel, or I've felt like the conversation was outside of a scope I could, handle or control in some way, they've been my biggest learning curves. And a lot of those happened last year. And it was a really great experience for me with a boss who was just incredible. We walk with, not to or for. So it's about walking alongside fellows,
with, not to or for.
I like that. I've probably paraphrased that to make it make sense for myself. But I like that those significant moments of like professional rupture where I've gone, ooh, this is a lot. I've heard things I can't unhear. It's like, okay, well, we get to go through that and break down what my part is in a session and where I could have protected myself and them more by putting in healthy boundaries or directing a conversation. And so I go back to what that person said to me is, when we can keep a safe distance and safety between what we're hearing and what we're exploring in a session, bring someone in and out healthily, safely, responsibly, within scope, then that's where you have the magic gift of being able to do many, many sessions, and I shouldn't be thinking about it that night. And so that's been a really big lesson for me around, okay, I think it definitely happened last year because there were times that really pushed me, and I had a lot of support from my boss at SANE and, from like my own therapist and things like that. But there comes a point where you go, okay, this is a huge responsibility, and it's. I know I'm going a bit off track here, but to be part of an organisation that's free and we're nationally accessible, so anyone calls with any issue and any challenge, and hearing what so many people are going through, it can be invigorating. I've had many ex-boyfriends go, I don't know how you do this and why this is uplifting for you, but it can be either invigorating and uplifting, or it can be heavy and you can start to feel like you're drowning yourself. And that's where I think last year really shaped that professional side of, I love doing this, and I reckon I'm pretty good at it too, because just like with acting, those characters, I found the heart and soul and the authenticity in those. I can find those moments in a session when someone wants to end their life, and I think that is like a magic thing that not a lot of people love doing or exploring, and for some reason I do it. You can see it in my voice and my eyes as I'm talking about it now. It like empowers and uplifts me and energizes me. So it's exciting.
I mean, even the fact that the word invigorating could be a way to describe some of what you do would really reaffirm that you're absolutely where you're meant to be. I completely agree with the people that have made that observation.
It's hope, isn't it?
Yes.
It's hope, and it can be dressed up any way you want. But I know that through my worst moments, someone just believing in me, it's a flicker of hope, and that's sometimes all you need. And I love having the opportunity for someone else to give me that for that day, or to give that to someone else, and it's because with peer work, you meet someone where they're at, where we're both at together. And there's no like hierarchical kind of, you must do this or that. It's like we've both got something to offer and we've both got something to gain here.
You've got a lot going on this year, and I want to talk about each of them individually. There's the fact that you're the first Australian ambassador for Vichy, and you are working at SANE. I mean, you're studying for a degree, I believe. I'm not sure where you're fitting all this in. You'll have to tell us the secret. And then, as I mentioned, you are launching your own business this month. Tell me a little bit about that.
I think it was about 4 years ago. When I finished on Neighbours, I came back to Sydney and I had to get a job for the first time. And I decided to work in the field that I was studying. And my dream was to always be a counsellor or in the therapeutic world of some way. And so I signed up for uni. I wrote them as a mature age student.
I mean, mature. How old were you? I mean, come on, but
this
anyway.
Compelling application form before I was using ChatGPT or anything like that. I had to call heaps of smart friends. But I got a place, and here I am 4 years later finishing that. And I had to do other qualifications in between that as well. So it's been a lot. But, the funny thing is people know me from being an actress on television for forever. And so now it feels as though I have to justify my credentials in some way. I'm like, no, I promise I've studied really hard and I've worked really hard to get here. And this business is not me, like pretending that I've done something off on a whim. It's been, starting at an entry-level job point, working my way up to now being a senior peer psychosocial recovery facilitator and part of a leadership team and, really growing within an organisation. I've always done that. I've loved doing that. And that has taught me so much about the digital landscape of mental health and the access points as well, because I think for me, within the last, I would say, 2 years, I started to develop my own private digital recovery practice. And so that's where it's become the Modern Recovery Group. And it's so exciting and it's really nerve-wracking. But I'm 41 and this will be the first business I've ever launched. And, when you just know it's the right time and there's no hiding or being scared. Well, there's fear, but it's not, the fear doesn't outweigh the want.
It's a good fear,
the desire.
The good kind of fear.
Yeah.
But recovery, Jodi, what does that word mean to you? Because obviously you've had experience of recovery from actual alcohol addiction, recovery from mental health and depression. But for you, it's a broader, we've all got a connection to recovery in our own life.
We do. And I think it's naturally taken shape. I didn't even realize when I was creating this company. Recovery for me is this invisible thread that runs through all of us, and we have a very personalized experience with it individually, whether it's substance, whether it's alcohol, whether it's a breakup, a divorce, grieving a loved one, rupture, repair. Or physical health as well. It's this invisible thread, and I feel as though there's a gap in the market where I wanted to design something where we're really embracing recovery, living recovery, loving it, doing it, sharing it. And also in doing that, we reduce the stigma and the discrimination attached to any kind of help seeking, whether it's physical, spiritual, mental, psychological, whatever it is. I think that I just really want to keep trying to blast that, because there's something, that connected thread between all of us, and thank you for running that story as well, because those stories, I see in my DMs what impact that has on people and their darkest days. And it's a collective, thing that everyone's doing. And I think it's really important. I think that the Modern Recovery Group, it definitely it resembles that art of living and way of living recovery freely. So we're not bounded by all these constraints and judgment and stigma around it, because we can all get well together, or we can all grow together, or we can all heal together,
Was that part of the feedback that you've had and the work that you've done, is that recovery comes in all forms and it can look nothing like what you might think it is? Yeah.
I don't think any part of, the things that we're challenged with across the board, it just doesn't discriminate at all. Like, I think there's this view of like someone that lives on a park bench drinking a VB long neck out of a paper bag, and I'm like, that guy or that woman, that person's also sitting in icebergs, and or she's like, an actress on television, or she's quietly suffering somewhere because she doesn't know what's going on. And that's the other thing. I feel really grateful. I've got a lot of support around me. I also have a couple of 12-step programs that really hold me, and I've got sponsors. But for people who don't have, alcoholism or drug addiction or like whatever kind of, 12-step program that is, what are they going through? Where are they going if they can't afford an expensive psychiatrist or psychologist because they've lost hope, or they're burnt out, or they're not enjoying life, or they don't know what's wrong? And that quiet panic, I know that really well. And I think there's so much of my heart in this company, because I just want to create something that I wanted at those moments, whether it was me getting over a breakup and not knowing how to live through the day, or whether it was me going, I'm an alcoholic and I don't know how to face the world. Whatever those are, I think that just having somewhere that's outspoken, that's going, hey, like, here we are, no bells and whistles, but like, this is who we are. I think that would feel comforting for me back in those days.
Because when somebody reaches a point, whatever it is, and they think, I think I have something I want to confront, I acknowledge there's a problem, and I'm ready to say I need help. It's so heartbreaking when there isn't then help.
And another thing that's really important to me is whether someone's struggling with finances and so they need a free service, or they have some money to spend towards a service, or they're looking for a like high-end clinical service. That kind of tier is really important to me, because I've had people who've helped support me financially in recovery, and then it's very much, I think, to have a place where you can come and someone to answer you and go, hey, if you need to get back on your feet, like, this is a great place for you to go. And then these are like the tiers that you can work within the scope of what you've got to, financially or time bound or whatever it is. I think that that's really important to me as well, with how companies are structured or who they partner with as well, because collectively, again, I think there's space for everyone to work together, because that's been my experience with recovery, and it's not linear. Yes, we fall down 8 times, we get up 9. It's regenerative.
And that's what also recovery is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not linear.
Yeah, and it's a whole new experience every time you do that. I think there's been, in the past, I feel like there's been a lot of ego involved in talking about specific facts of my recovery, and I just won't do that anymore, because it's not important. What to me is really important is how I'm living today, how I'm interacting with people, and what's happening in this moment, and how I'm being of service to other people inside my world and then outside my world as well.
If I can ask you to look back, what would have been a time, do you think, that there was something that was driving ego, and how that would look compared to the mindset that you have today?
I think when we talk about ego, I talk about it from a perspective of there's a part of me that wants you to know that I'm doing the work and I'm a good girl, or, you can trust me. None of that is built through words. It's built through actions. It's built through falling down and standing up. It's built through conversations you have and acknowledging all the people in your world. It's not something you earn through words. That's just cheap. And to me, there's been ego in that stuff, in trying to navigate my way through sharing parts of my story, but not staying within the realms of, having agency and protecting myself. But then also ego can come into it, and I think that we can all play on that a little bit at times. I know I certainly can, and it's justified because it might be helping people. But at the end of the day, it's also causing separation, and that's something that I want to be very mindful of moving forward. Is meeting everyone where they're at. It's not about, how many years I've studied, and if I'm with lived experience. It's not about certain criterias that make me the right person. I get that there is a study element to counselling and things like that, and even with business and things like that. But I think that when we're talking about lived experience and experiences of recovery, that's like a heart and soul kind of mission of going I'm so imperfect and I fall down heaps, but guess what? I get up every time. And that, whatever that is, it's I don't know, it's such a better place to sit in than feeling like I've got to prove myself. I think that's the essence of what.
You think that's everything that you then go through and confront, the good and the bad and the
messy,
exactly.
Chaotic. Let me fill the words in
for
for you.
please do. Is in that way of moving through the world, you've got it because you're not reliant on the approval.
Yeah, I've never been in control of that. I'm like, oh, plot twist, what a revelation, right? But I think that I can definitely get caught up in being in a world where I need to prove to you that I'm worthy of being in this position or doing this or doing that. And I don't want to do that anymore. I'm like, I don't think any of us need to. I think that it's not something that you don't earn respect because I tell you what I've done. I earn respect because you leave this room feeling like something's in you. It's it's, I guess, human emotion and human beings versus, the paperwork that tells you why you should like me.
I think from the industry that you came from is synonymous with ego, fairly or unfairly. Yeah. Any of our listeners or readers or
it had
viewers
its place.
will go, yeah. So I wanted to ask you about that because that's quite a road, isn't it?
It is. And my daughter, Alia, she's 12 and she's quite sharp on her words, and she's like, "Oh, Mum, you're so extra all the time. So she sees this part of me that's serious Jodi, or compliant, studying, working, and then there's the actress that's half dancing up in her dance uniform and twirling around the room, and she's getting all the versions, and it's really freeing to escape from this idea of who I'm meant to be to serve others because I want you to like me. No.
Jodi, I want to ask you a little bit about Vichy. You have been named as the first Australian ambassador for Vichy Laboratoire. Now, Vichy is very famous French brand. Rachel McAdam, who's the head of medical relations for the L'Oreal Group, was talking about your choosing you as the first Australian ambassador. She said, we're thrilled to partner with Jodi Gordon as our local brand ambassador, whose authentic connection to health and beauty perfectly embodies the Vichy spirit. Now, authenticity is an overused word in our culture because it's in short supply. Talk about it a lot. We don't necessarily find it a lot. What does authentic connection mean to you?
There's many things I love about Vichy, but what I really love is they're about overall health and wellness, and it starts with your skin, right? What are we putting into our bodies? What are we doing to take care of ourselves? How are we looking after ourselves? I love that that's a focus for, the number one pharmaceutical skincare brand in Europe. I love that that's their focus. I think that with skincare, I need evidence that supports, it's not, it's science-backed and not marketing, or it's not trending. And I need evidence that shows me that. So Vichy, they have the evidence, but the evidence for me outside of like what I know that why so many other people love them as well. But I've got my own built personal evidence. I remember I took a photo of my skin the day before I started using the products, and then 3 weeks later, and it's actually like mind-blowing. I can't believe that, really, I think the steps for me were I started to really put into my skincare, my nighttime routines. Then I noticed I started drinking more water. I started eating more fruit and veg. Then I was sleeping better. And then I was glowing. I was wearing less makeup. It's this whole... So when they say start with your skin, I was like, yeah.
So you've sort of got momentum.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about your skincare routine, your beauty routine. Can you talk me through a little bit of a day in the life of Jodi Gordon?
It's interesting because in the last, I'd say, 6 weeks, so there's been a whole new kind of, I don't know what you want to call it, but I think it's also in line with starting a business and going, how can I also practice what I preach and be even more conscious of my health? So that means like I've made this special tonic that I get up in the morning and I drink on an empty stomach, and I do, I brush my hair and my teeth and my skin, do my whole skincare routine, and I exercise every day. So I don't know if you're aware of John Arden's Seeds of Life. So SEED stand for sleep, exercise, education, diet, and social connectivity. And those 5 elements are things that if I can incorporate those in a day, I notice I significantly, like the scale and the scope and the stability of life is like significantly different. So focusing on all of those areas from the minute I get up, and it's not, I'm 41, I've got a lot going on like so many other people, and then I've got my daughter as well, and I've got, all these things. So it's about what's practical and what's actually effective. And so I've got the 3 different products that I use in the morning and night from Vichy, and they seem to have started a whole new world for me with, diet and exercise and all of those great things. And I think as well, being 41, and I don't even know if age has got anything to do with it, but I really want to love my body. I want to love like this body that gave me a little girl. I think that there's a deeper level of appreciation for how I take care of all the different elements that make me, because it's then I can sit in that level of authenticity. I can anchor in it because I'm confident and I'm strong and I trust myself because I've done the things that I know serve me. I think that repetition of like, your trust your word. Mm-hmm. Your word is your...
Yes.
So,
yes, prove to yourself that you'll follow through.
It's proving self-trust. And I think it's it's something that trends and marketing, it doesn't give you that. It might make you feel good for a second, but the real level of authenticity and self-trust and stability that I've developed is from working out what works for me and then doing it consistently and practically and realistically. So it all kind of comes back down to like SMART goals and counselling stuff. It's like this combination of health and wellness, and then these modalities or structures around mental health that keep me going. Like my word means a lot to me. When I don't show up for something or I let someone down, it impacts my world to some degree. And I want to grow in that. And I know I've got the capacity to grow in that even more. That's why I can create a morning routine and a night routine that I do imperfectly, but it's realistic and it's achievable, and it's okay if I miss it. You know, it's that putting the whip away again.
Because it's coming from a place that's an extension of your values by the sound of it, because you've had this acceptance and a very clear understanding of who you are, and you don't want things that are not in line with that. You actually want to, and these are overused things, but because that's everyone's trying to replicate something that actually you want to be feeling your best from the inside at every cellular level.
It's interesting you say that, because we can't replicate a feeling. You know, that's ours. And I know what gives me that feeling today. And it's that, you know, I can see your eyes twinkle when we talk about it, because I feel like you know it when you're doing well and you've got the integrity and you're keeping your word and you're doing or you're honouring what's right for you. And sometimes that's a really hard conversation, or that's walking away from something as well. It's not always empowering in the moment, but you know it's right. I think those moments, I look for those and I like them.
I think you live such a high profile public life for the first real, couple of decades of your career. And now you're part of your work that you do, as we've touched upon, is anonymous and behind the scenes. Yeah. How do you feel when you're doing something front facing as part of this campaign?
It's actually very nice, because it feels as though I haven't intentionally done this, but I think I had to go quiet for a while, a period, to work and learn and observe. And I mean, I'm always going to be doing that, but come into a new sector, new field, and so green, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, just trying to soak it all up, you know. And it now feels as though in that quietness, anonymity, that time, I've been able to really anchor in myself and my work, develop really great skills, work with amazing people, and learn, to stay teachable and to learn and grow and be able to share that with other people when the time is right. Like getting up and speaking in Canberra at Parliament House, like that's such a highlight for me. And it was the combination of lived and living experience with frontline work. And that stuff is really meaningful and purposeful to me. And I think those moments have come up, and I feel like Vichy again is such what a dream company, organisation, what a dream job. And the products, everything about their philosophy, their brand, their evidence, their science, their formulas, the history of their technology, it's really credible, backed stuff. And I think that those opportunities, they present themselves at the right moment, and it feels very aligned. And the quiet kind ofness of all of it is wonderful, because I get to speak out about things that I'm really passionate about, whether that's around mental health or well-being or the most incredible skincare brand. There's a thread through all of it, and it's nice to see that and to have worked hard to be in a place where I'm attracting that as well, if we talk about manifestation. But it's it's an honour and a joy to represent Vichy and to be Australia's first Australian ambassador and to travel over to France in a couple of months.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's a dream. Like, it really is. And it also feels really aligned.
Well, my final question, Jodi, was thinking about your daughter being 12, and I imagine, like all parents, you're seeing the world through her eyes and the things she's discovering, and what's different from your experience of when you were 12 and what's completely universal. And wow, really things haven't changed in some ways. In the context of that, what would you say to 12-year-old Jodi?
I think it's very much around like how we build belonging, how we build each other up, how we empower each other. Who's your girl gang? Where's your tribe? Or where's your boy gang? You know, where's your people? Let people hold space for you, and then do it vice versa for others. She came home the other day and said, she was out the front on the phone, and she said, Mama, it's like I was doing a counselling session because one of my friends needed to talk to me. And she had that look in her eyes that I know that I have when I feel really fulfilled in my purpose and my mission and what I'm doing. And I felt so proud of her because she said, she didn't use this language, but she's like, I held the space for her and I didn't tell her what to do. I just told her that I was there for her. I was like, oh, they're so beautiful.
That would be a proud mother moment.
So whatever that is, how we build belonging or foster and nurture relationships or build each other up or carry each other through, I think we can give and receive that. And it makes for a good start.
It's been so interesting talking to you today. So much to speak about, and thank you so much for your time, Jodi.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a privilege and a joy to chat to you guys, so thank you,
Privilege
Sarah.
and joy was all mine. Thanks, Jodi.
Thank you.
Thank you.